today we are going to be taking a look at some of my favourite dolls. So, I was watching one of Rand's videos and he was showing a case of dolls that he had kept aside just in case anything happened to his home or his doll collection. So I thought that I would do something similar, but I found it too easy to just choose my favourite dolls, so to make it a little more difficult for myself, I decided to pick a doll from each era. That kind of brought up the kind of topic of what are the eras. So some people consider there to be two eras. They go with eBay's logic, which is anything pre-73 is vintage and anything post-73 is contemporary. Then there is also a much more complicated system which has the categories of vintage, mod, Malibu, superstar, and Mackie. But I go for a more simplified version of that, which is vintage, mod, and then superstar and contemporary. But it was a bit difficult trying to decide when superstar ended and contemporary started. We decided in 1997, which is 20 years later, which seemed quite long for an era for me, but it was kind of hard to discern when there was a massive change. Like, they were still using the superstar sculpt up till 97 and even beyond 97. But it was around 97, 98 when they started to release dolls that were more hip-hop related, more pop related. If I was to just pick my favourite dolls, there wouldn't be any from the contemporary / modern era, like the most recent dolls. I'll start by showing you my favourite doll from the vintage era, so 1959 to 1966. And that is Fashion Queen Barbie. So, Fashion Queen Barbie is actually the doll that I instantly fell in love with and that ignited my interest in vintage Barbie. I saw her in one of the collector books, I'm not sure which one, but she was standing in front of a red Fashion Queen trunk, and I instantly fell in love with her Egyptian sort of haughty look. So I have this one, and she is never removed from box. And then I have another one which is a high colour, and she is in mint condition on my shelf, but I thought I'd just show you her. Now, why is she my favourite? Apart from the look, I think it's really cool that she is multiple dolls in one. And she is from 1960. She's copyrighted 1962. I've heard some people say that they actually got her for Christmas in 1962. So, a lot of people say she was released in 1963, but it's probably more likely that she was released late 62, early 63. So she's from around that time. And she was also the first doll to have her own accessories and an open plan box and special packaging. So moving on to the mod era, my favourite doll is my brunette Steffi Standard. So the Steffi Standard dolls were exclusively released to the European, Canadian, foreign markets, even Australia. So most of my Steffi Standards had come from Australia. I've had quite a few over the years, but I decided to reduce the collection to just one blonde, one redhead, and one brunette. It is believed that the brunettes and redheads were released exclusively in Australia. So she has the Steffi sculpt, which isn't my favourite sculpt, but I think it was used really well for the Steffi Standards. So I just love that she's quite simple. She has long hair, which can be styled, side pony, can do it up, whatever. And I don't know, I just love how simple she is and how versatile the doll is. She has Francie's hands as well. She also came with either Mexico hands or the regular Barbie hands, and she has a twist and turn waist, but standard legs so they don't bend. I was never really a fan of the TNT sculpt. I think I like it even less than I do the Steffi sculpt. My favourite mod sculpt is probably the Stacy sculpt. These dolls were released around 1971 to 1974. The brunettes and the redheads, I believe, are a little earlier, and the blondes were continued throughout the whole line. And for the Superstar era, you're all probably going to roll your eyes because this is very predictable for me. Peaches and Cream Barbie. So, because I actually consider the Superstar era, after much discussion, to end in 1997, two of my childhood dolls actually fell into that category. So those were Stroll and Fun Barbie and Peaches and Cream Barbie. And although Stroll and Fun was the first Barbie that I ever got for me, like that was truly mine, Peaches and Cream Barbie is the first Barbie I ever knew. So she kind of holds a lot of sentimental value for me. She is the doll that kind of ignited my love for Barbie, so yeah. And she's also very cool. Her outfit's changeable, you can do different styles with the stole, and she has a very iconic tanned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Barbie face. Yeah, and I just think she's kind of got this natural beauty. Okay, and this one was a lot harder to choose because it is a contemporary doll and I don't usually like them as much as vintage dolls. And I think I did go for the right one. Like, I really do love this doll. So, around this time, 2009-ish, a lot of the dolls had drag queen makeup and kind of oversized heads, and a lot of the dolls were being released on the thinner body. They also were kind of not doing the bendable legs anymore. A lot of the dolls had standard legs or the jointed legs. So when this line was released, I was really, really excited because they kind of went back to what Barbie was in the 90s, which is probably why she's my favourite contemporary doll. There were a few and they all had similar features, but this one I liked better because of her hair colour and also the fact that she represents part of my heritage. So, here we have 2011 Dolls of the World Island Barbie. So these dolls were a throwback to the original Dolls of the World line, which is probably why they went for the original 1966 body with the twist and turn waist and the larger bust. They also have one bent arm and one straight arm, like a lot of the 90s dolls, especially the late 90s. And she has the Generation, I believe it's the Generation Girl sculpt, which is quite similar to Superstars but slightly more updated. And her head isn't large, it's decently proportioned. Another thing that got me about this doll and why I love her so much is that she has, you probably can't see it in here, so I'll attach an image if I can find Mattel's promotional image. And her hair has green streaks in it. So she does have kind of an odd makeup, but it's not too drag queenish, but it is quite odd. She has yellow eyes with yellow and green and purple eyeshadow around her eyes and really red lips, which is quite an extreme makeup color combination for the eyes, and I'll get so close to the camera. But again, it's not overdone. Although there's a lot of color on her eyes, it's not right up to the eyebrows and all that. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below or in a video of your own what you consider to be the Barbie eras and which doll from each era you would save. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.